A Modern Youth's Guide to the Fauna. Young Ashley Armadillo thought it just Brillo to shove his great nose in a girl's pantyhose. She gave such a shriek he withdrew his long beak, henceforth sticking to ants and avoiding girls' pants. Barnaby Bat was a bit of a prat. He buzzlaid his hair just to give him a scare. He should have chased flies, 'cause to his surprise he got zapped with a spray, so he's called it a day. Chelsea Chimpanzee may be challenged verbally, and she can't talk with thumbs like her young human chums, but even if she could, there's every likelihood she'd prove her inanity by texting trivia and vanity. Dylan the dog was a bit of a hog. When it came to his belly, anything went, no matter how smelly. He once ate a meal of simply zero peel, some smelly French cheese and roadkill, fresh squeezed. Ella the eel had great sex appeal, her skin flesh green and cream as she weaved through her stream, but as she swam through the reeds she was plotting foul deeds involving the noshing of frogs which bred in the bogs. Freddy the ferret is of little real merit. He doesn't chase hares or give bunnies the scares, but frequents low pubs where he ekes out his subs inside men's trouser legs. Yes, he's really the dregs. Gertie the gerbil had a singular skill. What made this young scamp a contender for champ was that no matter the season, with no rhyme and no reason, she'd breed and she'd breed at incredible speed. Harry the hedgehog fancied a snog, some slap and some tickle, with a hedgehog quite fickle. But as he closed for the kill, he was pricked by a quill, which explains why his lust went so speedily bust. My eyes for a lemur called Indri, perched high in a tree deep in a Madagascan forest, where, to be brutally honest, those great staring eyes show her constant surprise at her tiny stubbed tail, which she greets with a wail. Jacko the jackass had habits quite crass. More than just rude, he was dreadfully crude. He'd made quite an art of the horribly loud fart, then he'd pee in his hay and just snigger and bray. Chris Kangaroo, between me and you, was a rather nice lad, which made it quite sad when some bad buckaroo turned his tail into stew. But with true Aussie guts, Chris simply said, nuts. Larry the lamb dreamt up a scam to grab himself an education. Relying on Mary's adoration, he followed her to school for days and copied all her essays, until she saw the little creep was nothing but a black sheep. Marmaduke Mandrill could boast of no skill, but his multi-hued snout gave him incredible clout, while his red and blue arse placed him top of the class. Bewitched by his wonderful bottom, the ladies all swooned, so he got 'em. Young Nora the newt could hardly be called cute. Her one saving grace was her unblemished face, but her long and sharp claws on legs shaped like oars, plus her numerous scales, even scared off the snails. Olivia, Lady Ostrich, was a snooty old bitch, who looked down her beak at the mild and the meek, although feathered and plumed and so impeccably groomed that the least little hurt, she shoved her head in the dirt. Portia the pig was so awfully big there was hardly a sty to fit her, causing some other pigs to twitter. Now that in its turn caused the media squirm, plus crocodile tears from her wannabe peers. Quentin the Quetzal is really rather special, with his colours galore and a tail just to die for. Don't think he's a Quetzalcoatlotl, 'cause there's really not a lot'll rhyme with that. Randy the rabbit has a very bad habit of dipping his wick in and out double quick. This explains why the breed grows with incredible speed, and thus I regret he's an unsuitable pet. Stacy the slithering snake once lived by a lake in the midst of a jungle clearing. Sadly, Stacy was hard of hearing, and having dined upon fish, perhaps her favourite dish, with a chaser of frogs, Stacy herself got eaten by dogs. Tracy the toad was of no fixed abode. Free-spirited and quite a looker, she hopped just as fancy took her, until that dreadful day she reached the motorway, where she was squashed quite flat, and that, I'm afraid, was that. Upton's a less well-known Uriel, not the proverbial old-fashioned unicorn with its one spiky horn. Now this fellow's headdress is something I'm sure will impress, with that magnificent sweep, which is stunning for a sheep. Vinny the vole lives down a hole. He may look like a mouse living in a similar sort of house, but he's rather more hale and has a stumpier tail, shorter muzzle and ears, but he shares the same fears. Wayne the roaming wildebeest knows his hair's increased thanks largely to his efforts in the breeding sports. However, despite that sterling play, it's probably fair to say he's better known to you as the funny-sounding Moo. Xanthia the Xerus at first may confuse us with that annoying little brat, television's Russian meerkat, but the tail of that drip is much thinner, like a whip, not all bushy and handsome, so go compare the tails.com. Yancy the yak has a thick hairy back, all greasy and fat, but his foul-sounding mat is essential, I'm told, to keep out the cold of the Himalayan snows, where little else grows. Zara the zebra is something of a diva, flirting in plain sight in her stripes of black and white. She should be camouflage, but is too often sabotage, 'cause she can't stand still while lions stalk to kill.